Today I'm in Phantasialand. It's end of November 22. I was here exactly 1 year ago. We are in Wintertraum, which is their Christmas event, which is just lovely. They just go all out in terms of decorations and Christmas events. Everything is really, really nice. The reason I'm back is because during this year I've actually visited lots of parks and done lots of roller coasters. So what I wanted to check is, after all that, is Phantasialand still one of the best parks in Europe, and is Taron still my favorite coaster? Spoiler alert, I've done Ride to Happiness in the meantime. Now, I wanted to show you one thing of Phantasialand that you see from this panoramic view. The park is really, really flat. There is nothing standing out high or big. The reason is that, same as Alton Towers, they got lots of restraints in terms of noise and height. They are surrounded by houses, so they cannot do much. In Phantasialand you will never find an hypercoaster, they cannot do it. And if you see also, they use the hotels as sound barriers all around the perimeter, and even Black Mamba, the chain lift, has been encapsulated by a building to contain the noise. But if you look at the park from this top view, you see that apart from the tower, which is quite tall, all the others are, you don't see any coaster basically. You don't even see that one, it's Rockburg, you don't see fly. So this is one of the main characteristics of Phantasialand. It's really, really flat. Everything is horizontal rather than vertical in terms of coasters. As usual, I'm gonna tell you what's on offer. We're gonna see all the attractions, what I like and what I don't like of the park, and is it worth a visit? I can tell you already, yes, it is. But anyway, let's find out together. Phantasialand Wintertraum 22. I love to call Phantasialand a boutique park. The reason being is that the park is pretty small, but it's so well done. All the details and all the themings are outstanding. We are talking about a level of theming similar to Disneyland or to Europa Park. All the lands are well defined, and everything, shops, bars, restaurants, is themed to a really high level. In terms of what's on offer, starting from the kids area, you will find two spinning coasters. Those were opened in year 2000-2001. They are made by Mauer, and they are a mix of more panoramic parts in which you just slowly go around the land and you can look around, mixed with more intense parts and transitions like drops and innovative elements like tilting tracks and other tricks that I'm not gonna spoil. Also, there is no chain lift, but there is an elevator for both, and they are fun. You need to keep in mind that those are more than 20 years old, so back then they were really innovative. Now, they feel a bit old today, but they are still worth a ride. And I think they're still fun, especially the queue line. It's heavily themed, and the whole implementation, it's really interesting. A really good couple of spinning coaster in Phantasialand. In the same areas, there is the Crazy Bats, which is a super old indoor coaster that has been turned into VR. Now, the queue line, it's nicely themed, but what is worth mentioning is that the VR integration, it's properly done. It's probably one of the few old coaster turned into VR experiences which are credible. The film, it's nice, and the interaction between the VR and the actual coaster are spot on. So really a proper VR implementation, really enjoyable, and you probably want to do it more than once. It's super long, it's got free chain lift, really interesting. Then you got Colorado Adventure, which is a Vekoma mine train. Again, typical of Phantasialand, this one doesn't go too high, everything is more horizontal than vertical. This one has got free chain lift, It's a mix of outdoor and indoor area. The indoor area are pitch dark, so they're pretty fun. Lots of near miss as well. Here is an example of how a mine train should be done. It's intense, it's fun, it's super long. And in my opinion, is one of the best mine trains you can find, at least in Europe, leave alone the Disney ones. But this one is really, really interesting. The only spot on this implementation is that this coaster, which is interacting a lot with Chiapas, it's in theory in Mexico, but the entrance is in China, so probably you're not going to find the entrance, and you can see lots of people struggling to understand where you should start queuing. Then there is Reich, which is a Vekoma boomerang coaster. Pretty short, pretty simple, still fun. Two highlights of this one. First thing is that it interacts a lot with Taron, so probably you're gonna ride Reich just to see Taron from a closer point of view. And then the station is nicely themed, and when there is no queue, the ride is doubled. So we're gonna launch the coaster twice. And so they make the experience a bit longer. And this is a kind of typical thing of Phantasialand. They try really to deliver the best experience for their guests. So well done. Again, nice coaster, but the kudos here is like interaction with Taron. Then, assuming you can find the entrance of Black Mamba, this is an inverted B&M coaster where the station is amazingly themed, and also the chain lift, as said before, is encapsulated in a building. Now, this one, you can clearly see that someone in Phantasialand went to see Nemesis before making this one, right? Because they actually work on the same characteristics. So, again, due to their constraints in terms of noise and how tall they can go, this one, same as Nemesis, works a lot on landscaping, interaction with the landscaping, near miss, and the whole coaster has actually been digged down, so it's below the level of the park. To the extent that even the highest part, which is the first inversion, it's actually at the level of a street, and there is a bridge going in between. This one, if you miss Nemesis from Alton Towers, I think this one is one of the closest experience you can find in Europe. It really reminds a lot of Nemesis, and all the good things of Nemesis are here as well. Lots of near miss, lots of interaction with the landscape. It's really a really nice inverted B&M implementation. The thing is that it's not a coaster which is always mentioned when talking about Phantasialand, just because other coasters are better. For example, Fly. So when you talk about Fly, you talk about Rockburg. It's one example in which land and coaster are one thing. The land makes the coaster makes the land. Rockburg, it's unveiled through this tunnel, so it's pretty dark and narrow, and then Rockburg unfolds 360 degrees around you, and is gonna be a breathtaking view. The land is just out of this world. I think we're never gonna see a land so detailed, so well themed. And what I love of Rockburg, you can stay there like for 10 hours, look around, and you will never notice all the details. I try to make those videos just to show you, if you keep looking around, you keep seeing more and more details and theming all over the place. In Rockburg, there is also a hotel, there is a restaurant, there are some shops, but everything is themed to an unseen level. I think we might even say better than Disney, better than Europa Park, better than anything else. It's just pure joy, and it's a masterpiece. To the extent that, apart from all the details, you even see here like the lockers. Those are the lockers used by the staff, but they feel like part of the theming because it has so well done. And then, you know, I got this kind of kink about themed toilets. Of course, Phantasialand doesn't disappoint on this one. So even the toilets in Rockburg are heavily themed. We're gonna see them now. Really nice. But I mean, Rockburg is just a land which is so credible, so immersive. It doesn't even feel. It's a park in the park, if you want. It's such a amazing implementation and exercise in terms of making a steampunk land. Then, of course, the masterpiece and the key point of Rockburg is Fly. So the queue line, again, it's heavily themed, lots of details there, and it goes all the way around Rockburg, giving you breathtaking views of the coaster and of the land. And then there is Fly. So Fly, it's this Vekoma double-launched coaster. Which is the first one, actually the only one in the world with a new transition between sitting position and flying position. It's a coaster that I like. It's a good coaster. It's intense, but it's not rough. It's really fluid and nice. And I think, to a certain extent, it's the best flying coaster you can ever experience. My point here is that it's got some limits being a flying coaster. First thing, the flying position is not so comfortable, and the other thing is that it cannot deliver too much intensity given the fact that it's a flying coaster. My point is that it's a bit of a pity to see Rockburg, which is such an amazing land, with a flying coaster. I would have preferred probably a wing coaster, or the ideal would have been an extreme spinning coaster by Mack, so Ride to Happiness, in this land, just because it could have delivered a more interesting and intense experience, still working on near miss and interacting with the land. Fly, it's a good coaster. Probably everyone is gonna tell you that it's not the best coaster in Phantasialand, and it's a pity, because it's the newest coaster, and it's because it's the biggest investment of Phantasialand as well. But unfortunately, being a flying coaster, there are some limits in terms of type of coaster and what riding experience it can deliver. It goes without saying that if Rockburg is amazing during the day, then during the night it just gets breathtaking again. So nice when the lights are on that they even put a show when they turn on all the lights in Rockburg, and you're gonna find this in the playlist. And then there is this thing here which is called Taron. Now, Taron, it's a coaster that I love. I said forever that it's the best coaster in Europe, and I'm here to say that it's still the best coaster in Europe. Now, Taron, it's a mess. So you get there, I'm trying to show you here in the video. It's just track everywhere. They got this amazing medieval mystery land, and there is just track everywhere. To show you how complex it is, I'm using an artwork that, by the way, is on sale. I'm going to put the link in the description. See what kind of mess is that. It's just track everywhere. It's mesmerizing. You cannot understand where you're going. The thing of Taron that I love is that it's intense. Intense, similar to a wooden coaster or an RMC. So think about Wodan in Europa Park or Zadra in Energylandia. This is the kind of experience, but it's made of metal. It's got two launches. The first one, it's amazing, but the second one, you are already quite fast, and it launches you even more, even faster. But then the track is such a mess in terms of layout. It's got airtime, it's got turns left and right, and then the restraints, which are just lap bar, leave you an amazing level of freedom in terms of movement. And so it's a coaster which is intense. It's a bit rough, but it's got such an amazing interaction with the landscape. Lots of near misses all over the place. It keeps delivering. It hasn't got a second in which is mild or dead, and it's just pure joy. I love Taron, and I'm here to say that for me, it's still like the best coaster in Europe. Now, I've done Ride to Happiness. I have to say that Ride to Happiness, in terms of coaster itself, it's better. It's more intense and it's more fun. But I think Taron, it's the full package. Unfortunately, Ride to Happiness has been placed in a field with no teaming apart from the station. While here, of course, the land helps a lot in terms of riding experience on Taron. I think it's a coaster that you need to try. A note in terms of POVs, you can find lots of them. Don't waste your time looking at the POV of Taron, just because you're gonna see what it looks like, but all the feelings that you got while you're riding Taron, in terms of air times, in terms of intensity, are not transferred in a POV. Just go on a plane, go ride Taron, there you go, happy days. It's hard to find a coaster in which everyone is both screaming and laughing all the way through. And every single ride on Taron ends with a round of applause. So it's just amazing. I love it, especially because all these horizontal and messy layout, it doesn't go high, it hasn't got chain lift, anything. It is super horizontal, super long, never ending. It's just a really lovely, intense experience. Also, it's worth mentioning that when the park is not busy, especially during Wintertraum, during weekdays, then Phantasialand still allow every single guest to try the first row. But because there are no people waiting for the other rows, from the second to the eighth one, then the operators of Team Taron, and a big thanks to them because they are just amazing. So thanks Team Taron. They keep the same people on the train, and they launch the same train like 5, 6, 10 times with the same people on board. Now, if riding Taron once, it's an experience, riding it like 5 or 10 times non-stop, it's another level. And maybe this is the reason why I love Taron so much, because I always been so lucky to experience these multiple launches non-stop, and that just makes your day, to be honest. You will find also that all the coaster enthusiasts end up doing Fly maybe 2-3 times during the day, and then they're gonna do like Taron 20 times. Just because when you ride it, you got the feeling that there is nothing like this anywhere else in the world. I haven't tried Velocicoaster, might be a similar experience, but I think that such an implementation of a double launched Intamin coaster, interacting and so well interacting with the landscape, it's hard to find. Then, of course, during the night, Taron gets even better because they start putting all this steam in the second launch, and there are lovely lighting all over the place. So make sure if you go to Phantasialand also that you keep some time for a night ride on Taron, which is even better than riding it during the day. Then, moving on, what's on offer? Well, flat rides, of course, Talocan. Talocan, it's a top spin, which won lots of awards. It's super intense, lovely effects, teaming is outstanding, the soundtrack, it's really, really well done. And it's a disorientating experience, because it feels like you're bouncing on the wall behind, and it's a really, really nice ride. Also, it's much taller than what it looks like, because half of it it's underground, so below the level of the park. So once you're riding it, you actually feel how tall this top spin is. And then there is Mexico, which is another area where Talocan is, and where there is Chiapas. Chiapas, it's a log flume, another crazy implementation of Phantasialand. So it's not super wet, but lovely teaming and lots of innovation in terms of track. So The log flume goes backwards, then goes back again. You got some tilting tracks as well, which are kind of unusual in a log flume. So there is a lot going on, and it's super fun. The ride experience is super long as well. Nice interaction with the Colorado Adventure and with the teaming. And then there is an indoor area with a show which is Gay Pride approved. Which is super fun. The soundtrack is just so funny. So it's a really nice implementation of a log flume. Then there is the drop tower, which again it's indoor, has been encapsulating in that massive building due to noise. On this one, it's worth mentioning that the queue line, it's amazing. You are all the way through a castle with an amazing teaming, while the tower experience itself, it's a bit of a mixed bag. It's not a free fall. Actually, it's faster when you go up rather than when you go down, just to tell you something. But still, it is nice to do. Probably you will not be desperate to repeat it more than once. But interesting during Wintertraum, the outbuilding, it's part of the light and sound show. So they made all this projection on the outbuilding. The show is really nice. It's around 5 minutes long, and you can find the full version of this one in a dedicated video in the playlist. Then, moving on, other things on offer is Mouse Chocolat, which is a laser 3D interactive ride. So you got the guns, you need to shoot at different things. It's inspired to Ratatouille in Disneyland. I think the queue line, it's amazing. The building, it's amazing. The ride experience itself is a bit repetitive. I think they put too many scenes and it's a bit all the same all the way through. So at the end, I think it gets a bit boring. Nice doing it once, but again, it's not something that you're gonna repeat. Then, new for this year is Deep in Africa, which is a walkthrough experience similar to a Go Ape. Really long, really fun, really well done, nice. It's interacting a lot with Black Mamba. Also, you go around some of the pillars of Black Mamba. At some point, you're gonna get lost and you are not gonna make it out, and so you're gonna stay there with the other guests and you become friends. What is really nice of this experience, apart from being fun and for everyone, from kids, from family and everyone, but is that you really interact a lot with Black Mamba, because the path goes all the way around the Black Mamba track, so it's not unusual while you're doing this one to look outside and there you go, Black Mamba. Say that if you're gonna make it out of it, because it's not granted, if you find this final slide, then well done, you're out of it. This is the exit. But trust me, it's not so easy to find. Anyway, nice addition. And then there is China. China is a really nice themed area, but unfortunately the two attractions on offer are really, really old. There is the Coma Madhouse with a super long, boring and confusing pre-show, and then the experience in the Madhouse is the usual experience in the Madhouse. I think this one is in desperate need of a refresh, restyle or something, because right now is not really a good experience. It's probably more comical than what it should be. But then there is another one which is even worse, which is the Dark Ride. Because this one comes from the 80s, it's so old, all the animatronics looks outdated. So rather than being a kind of scary dark ride, it's just a drama basically. It's hilarious. It's just comic, and this one again, you don't really understand what they're trying to deliver in terms of storytelling. All the animatronics, they just look old, and so this one again should be just refreshed. This one, by the way, is really similar to how Gardaland Valle dei Re used to be before being turned into Jumanji. So ideally, Phantasialand could look at doing something similar, so turning an old dark ride into something new with more interaction videos and effects and newest vehicles, still using the same building. So that could be an idea. So say that I think China is the weakest point of Phantasialand, just because the two rides, rides on offer are just too old. They're not gonna get rid of the area because they got an hotel and the area is massive, but it's in desperate need of attention. So what I liked of Phantasialand, well, first thing, apart from all the rides we already mentioned, it's the theming. The theming is really well done. All the lands are credible, are self-contained. There is no contamination in between the lands. And it's not just Rockburg, but also Mexico and Africa and Berlin and China and the Mystery Clue Game area. All of them are outstanding, and everything is so coherent. All the buildings, all the shops, all the restaurants, everything makes sense and makes you feel part of that land. I said Phantasialand is not a big park, so all the areas are one next to the other, but because of these sound barriers, everything is self-contained. So there are places in which all the lands are one against the other, but they don't really, there is no cross-contamination, and so you don't feel like you are in two areas at the same time. As said, also Africa is really, really nice, despite having just basically Black Mamba and that thing, Go Ape thing. And then all the restaurants, especially the one in Rookburg, are amazing. Worth noticing that in this one, all the pillars of Fly are part of the furniture, and so it's a kind of one-of-a-kind experience, especially because you feel all the vibration every time Fly goes around. Then Wintertraum. So they do some light and sound shows. For example, one is when they turn on the lights in Rockburg, which is amazing. I'm gonna put the full version of all the shows in a separate video that you can find in the playlist. As said, there is another one on the Drop Tower building, which again, it's a really nice show using these 3D projections. So they put a lot for Wintertraum. They put also on some dedicated shows, and then there is the typical food all over the park, and they go all out in terms of decoration, to the extent that they even got real snow that they keep putting in the park, and some typical food like the smoked salmon sandwich, which is really, really nice. But then the magic starts when it gets dark. In terms of decoration, they just go all out. Berlin has got 10 trillions of bulbs lighting up, and they decorated every single land with decorations which are aligned to the theming of the area itself. So again, it's a really big effort from Phantasialand. Phantasialand, it's always another level. Even in terms of Christmas decoration and lights, it's just amazing. And then it's a park that, when it's dark, gets even better. Rockburg is magical, but also all the other lands are amazing. And make sure you ride all the coasters, especially Black Mamba, Fly, and Taron at night, because the night ride, it's even better than the day one, just because the lighting of the coaster, it's really, really well done. So it's a park that during the day it's good, but during the night it gets even better. So why Wintertraum? Well, because there are all the events, all the shows, all the typical foods. When the park is open from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m., so it gives you plenty of time for night rides, and the whole lighting around the park is just magic. Then it's worth mentioning that Wintertraum is not a really busy period, especially if you go during the week. So it's not unlikely to find everything walk on train, which is really good to ride multiple times. What I didn't like, well, first thing, the entrance. Considering the level of theming inside, the entrance looks like a tube station, and it's unbelievable they haven't redone it as of yet. Then, as mentioned before, China is really the weakest point. Not in terms of the land is nicely themed, but the two rides on offer are just pathetic. I hope they're gonna fix this. Clearly, they cannot get rid of China because they got an hotel there as well, and also the land itself is nice. It would be ideal to refurbish the Madhouse, do something with the dark ride, and maybe a nice addition would be a B&M wing coaster now that they are launched, like Jumanji in Chessington World of Adventure. Because at the end of the day, wing coaster, Dragon, China could make sense. Another thing I didn't like is or just a question mark, too many hotels. They got 3 hotels. Phantasialand is a small park, you just need one day. So I'm not sure why they are offering so many accommodation opportunities that they are not needed. Another thing around merchandising, despite having amazing lands and amazing brands, the merchandising is really, really boring and poor. So, should you visit Phantasialand during Wintertraum? Well, I say yes, for those reasons. First thing is that the park is open from 11 till 8 p.m., so there is plenty of time during the day and during the night. Keep in mind all the night rides you can do on the coasters. How many days? One day it's more than enough. Because the offer is pretty limited. Some cons of Wintertraum is that first thing, it's cold. It can be freezing cold, so you might not enjoy the water rides. And River Quest, it's always closed during Wintertraum. Now, say that you're gonna spend one day in Phantasialand. My advice is to combine with Cologne Christmas markets. The reason being, first thing, Cologne is the closest airport, so you're gonna fly probably to Cologne. By the way, I'm gonna insert in the playlist my tips and tricks video. It's from last year, but it's still fully valid. Combining the Christmas market in Cologne, keep in mind that they are one of the best Christmas markets in Germany, and there are people flying from all over Europe to visit them. And they are another theme park, basically. There is a lot of food, lots of things on offer, lots of things to do. And they are heavily themed, so you can see a pattern here in terms of nice theming. Also, if visiting the Christmas market you miss riding something, then keep in mind that there is a Ferry wheel, which is like the fastest I ever seen. I'm not even sure that is legal. So in case you can ride it, and if you survived to Taron, you got good chances to survive to this one as well. But you tell me, I don't think this one is even legal. Anyway, so to wrap it up, yes, Phantasialand is worth a visit. Wintertraum is a good opportunity to combine multiple things, but also to experience the park in a different way compared to visiting it during the peak season, so summer. I hope you like the video. I'm gonna put a playlist with all the light and sound shows and a video dedicated to all the attractions. If you like the video, I would love you to subscribe to my channel.